our next presenter today is Director of Development of the Alpha-1 Foundation. She is responsible for leading the development staff as well as the volunteer team in developing resources to ensure a strong base of national support, financial support for the organization's mission and to fund research towards a cure for Alpha-1. That is her mission, I can tell you, and those of you that know Angela will say that. It's important that we as a community find different ways to participate in research for a cure for Alpha-1. So here to talk to you today is Angela McBride.
Thank you, Ms. Mullen. I'm terrified to touch anything electronic here. Everything's jumping around and bouncing around, and I feel really this is a huge podium. And I have the unfortunate job of keeping everybody awake for the next 10 minutes, and I went and checked on my friends in the back, and they were all snoozing. So I went back there and woke them up. Celeste, you look much brighter now. So, presentation, Alpha-1 Foundation update. I always like to start from the very beginning, like where did it all begin? And it all began with 3 individuals that were no different, because I knew the 3 of them personally, than you sitting here in the room. Unfortunately, 2 of them have passed away. And we still have our great leader, John Walsh, and I know most of you all know John, and John, thank God, is still healthy and still traveling the world and still beating me to 6 cities in the 1 week or whatever. But John is just an amazing leader. But what happened was, way back when, the 3 of them had participated in a research study, and they were told after they were finished their study with the National Institute of Health that there was no more research going to happen. And, go back and live a fabulous life wherever you come from. Well, being the 3 personalities that they were, that really wasn't acceptable. And that's exactly the way you should feel today, that it is not acceptable. That, our government is not putting millions and millions into research, that we're not out there raising millions and millions of dollars for research, because that's exactly what we need to do. So that's how the foundation started. Was they went back, they set up the Alpha-1 Foundation, they decided what their mission was going to be, and the mission is still the same today, that we're dedicated to providing that leadership, finding the resources that will increase health, get a cure for Alpha-1, and move forward each and every day to try and find a cure. So our organization has the highest accreditation with 2 very big organizations in Washington, the YCB Giving Alliance and the National Health Council. So it's really important to be very accredited in these days with a lot of scandals that are going on with nonprofits. And there's a lot of articles this week in the Washington Journal and the New York Post on nonprofits. So it's very, very important to have the accreditations that we have. We spend 82% of our dollars in programs. So when $1 comes in, 82% of that will go into research and related programs. We spend 9% on fundraising and 9% on administration. I do want to talk a little bit about AlphaNet because we have some coordinators in the room today. And AlphaNet is a health management organization. It was founded by alphas, it's governed by alphas, they employ alphas, and they service alphas with that health management. But the most important thing is, just like the 3 individuals that are here today, like Celeste, like Peg, and like Linda, they're individuals that work 24/7, giving healthcare managements out there to people in the community. But the most important thing is that the contract that they have with some pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies, the monies come directly back to research. And to date, AlphaNet have been able to donate $35 million back into the research pool. So ladies, thank you very much for your time and your talent and your energy. And $35 million is quite impressive. So I love this circle. We call it the circle of life in our office. And so how do you find a cure for Alpha-1? How do you find a cure for anything? John and the 2 ladies had an amazing task to sit down and figure out how you do all of this. And how do you accelerate research? So obviously the first thing they had to do was look at patient information. I mean, 15, 18 years ago, what was out there? There was pretty much nothing out there. So they set up committees, mostly made up of doctors and lay people, to actually write about Alpha-1, write the patient information material, write material that would that a doctor could understand how he needed to treat a patient. They needed the DNA tissue of you, the alphas, so they set up the DNA tissue bank. They set up the translational research lab. All these programs are all ongoing. And then they said, okay, we have all this information. How do we treat alphas? How do we get docs out there to take the best care of alphas? So they set up clinical resource centers. And then they set up the research registry. And Mike is here today from the research registry, and that's that confidential database, because when researchers want to find out more about Alpha-1, that's exactly where they go to. They talk to Dr. Strange, and Dr. Strange will send a letter to you, the patient, to become involved in some research studies. So I'm now going to move on and talk a little bit about some of the programs that we're going to highlight today. Obviously, we can't highlight everything, but clinical resource centers are incredibly important because we should be focused on you, the Alpha-1 patient. We have 75 clinical resource centers all over the country. We've added another 10 last year. Some focus on liver and some focus on lung. But we do have at the Alpha-1 Foundation a program that if you have never been to a clinical resource center, we have a stipend that will allow you, I believe it's up to $300 in travel expenses to get yourself to a clinical resource center and get them baseline results and understand exactly what your numbers are. Talk to an Alpha-1 specialist. So that's a program that will probably last for only another 2 or 3 years, but there's a pool of money there that we did find that if anybody wants to go to an Alpha doc, there is funds available to get to an Alpha doc. Detection is very much part of our mission. We're always raising as much awareness as we possibly can. We conduct professional meetings with the medical community, the scientific community, and the general population, really through the medium of the COPD Foundation and our collaboration with them. We're able to offer free testing in the state of Florida, and obviously we continue to fund the confidential testing program at MUSC. And the Alpha-1 coded testing, I know you'll see the little leaflet out there. Just remember about confidential testing. This is the only test that you'll ever do that doesn't appear in your physician record. And I think that's really important because you'll be given test kits from everybody in the world, but remember that this is the only test kit that never appears in your medical record. So we're very proud that there's not many disease states that is able to offer a free test that will be confidential in the nonprofit world. So we're very, very proud of that program. You can see 80% of the tests that's requested is requested because a family member was diagnosed. To date, we've been able to distribute 23,000 test kits, and as a result of that, 12,500 patients were tested, and of that, 6.5% were severely deficient. Family testing, Marlene touched on that a little earlier. We collaborate with the Alpha-1 Association's genetic counselor. And listening to stories last night, family testing is very difficult. It's a very difficult thing to talk about among family members. It brings up a lot of issues. We know it's incredibly difficult. So we have the tools there that, if you're having a family picnic, if you're having a family reunion, bring along some brochures and encourage people to talk about Alpha-1. So. Update on research. We're very lucky that we have a really good speaker this afternoon that's going to give a talk give an update on Alpha-1 research, so I kind of won't delve into that too much. So where are we going to find the cure? I'm sure he'll talk about gene therapy, stem cell therapy, molecular chaperones, small molecules, or aerosolized therapy. So we can touch on all them subjects in the afternoon. Wanted to talk a little bit about scientific conferences and meetings only because It's really important to understand where your dollar goes and what we do with them dollars. Coming up in a couple of weeks, and Jan, I think that's your hair. I'm nearly positive. So you must have been at our last scientific meeting. There's nobody else that has wonderful hair just like that. I just noticed that. But in the beginning of October, the Alpha-1 Foundation has the wonderful opportunity of being able to bring in 156 research investigators from all over the world. And what they do is they come in, sit around a table, they tell each other what's happening with their mouse and what's happening in their cell line. And that's, in the research world, that's exactly what you need. You need one to stimulate another person to come up with an idea. So we're very blessed that in early October we will have a gathering of the most brilliant minds in the Alpha-1 world. And also we're bringing in all of our doctors from our clinical resource centers, and they're going to sit down for a whole day and kind of map out their strategic plan for the next 5 years. Public policy, as Marlene and Jonathan spoke on earlier, a program that we collaborate also with the Alpha-1 Association, but it's incredibly important to understand how much money it takes to run public policy. We have, in order to get the Genetic Discrimination Act passed, we believe that we probably spent close to about $13 million trying to get that act passed, which was successful. And the Alpha-1 Foundation and Association was a driving force behind that, and it's probably one of the most incredible bills that has been passed in Alpha-1 favors in a long, long time. Also, airline oxygen, I think we changed the face of travel for the whole COPD world. And very few people really don't understand that it was a handful of alphas that made that bill pass. And had just incredible, it changed the face of travel for COPD patients. So Miriam, anything that's, most politicians, believe you me, could never even spell the word alpha. But Miriam O'Day is our person there that, pushes them bills, pushes that language through day after day. And I just wish I had the energy of Miriam. And I hope that next year that we get Miriam to attend some of the education days. I know this year was a really tough schedule for her, but next year definitely, I think she should come on the circuit with us and promote public policy a little better. Publications and website. I hope everybody gets the Alpha 1-to-1 magazine. It's the latest and greatest in research. I think this issue has some incredible stories in it, and my favorite story this month was I was talking to Judy earlier, was on the creativity that's in the Alpha-1 community. And I think there's no other community like it that, we can sit back there and knit with pens and create a scarf. I think that's wonderful. We have incredible writers. And so the Alpha 1-to-1 magazine is a great magazine that will keep you in touch with everything that's going on. Obviously, all the patient material is co-branded. I think we have 6 pieces co-branded with the Alpha-1 Association. And we circulate about 35,000 pieces of information all over the world out of our office. We're obviously on Facebook. Our website has been kind of updated at the moment, and we'll have a really nice, fine website within the next month. So all of them programs we're very proud of. And probably the one that I'm proudest the most of is our Building Friends for a Cure program that we run in the Alpha-1 Foundation. And this program is really, the Alpha-1 about 6 years ago decided that, let's put the responsibility, and it really is a responsibility of you, the patient, the community, to play a very, very active part in trying to find a cure. You can have researchers sitting at benches every other day, but it's really that interaction between a researcher, a scientist, and a patient working together that makes things happen. But like Dr. Techman said this morning, the liver study that he kind of talked about for 30 seconds, Dr. Techman will put an invoice in our desk for probably about $2.5 million to have that one liver study. That was just one line in his presentation. So research is incredibly expensive. But back to building Friends for a Cure. You know, the first person that probably stepped up to the plate was Noreen James. And Noreen, I think it had to be 6-8 years ago, put on a silent auction and done a great job here. Raised, I think, about $3,000. And that's what we need everybody in the community to do, to be as creative as possible. I know Peg Iverson is here, and in Johnson, Iowa, Peg sells ice cream on a Saturday afternoon. So ice cream, I says, okay, Peg, so what, you make $3 in an ice cream? I was going, oh my God, that's really kind of hard work. But Peg is another very creative individual, so she gets you in the door and she charges you maybe $5 for the ice cream. And then she's a 50-50 raffle. She never lets you out of the door without participating in the silent auction, and then she'll offer you coffee, and then you'll pay maybe some money to have music played. So this year in July, she had about maybe 100 people at her event. And how much money did you raise, Peg? $20,000 selling something that was an ice cream, a tub of ice cream. So we're very proud of Peg and her accomplishments, and everybody in the room. I know next weekend we're really excited because we get to ride 160 miles on a bicycle. And there's people in the room here that are on oxygen full time and that will ride that race. And they'll put their oxygen on their back and they'll ride alongside people that have lots of air, and that person that has lots of air will encourage people like Ken Walkley and Mary Pierce to climb that mountain. There's not really that much mountains in Cape Cod, but it's hilly. But you know, it really is a determination of individuals like folks like Mary and Ken, and I know we have a whole new recruit from Centric this year that will they'll never come back, but they will, because you get hooked on it and they all become your family members. And I think we have a goal of $50,000, and I think we're up to $34,000 today. So, but it'll be just an amazing weekend. So in November, the Alpha-1 Foundation is going to have the Building Friends for a Cure training, and the training will take place in Jupiter, yes, on the 9th and 10th of November. And if there's anybody here, we're offering scholarships for anybody that would like to come to Florida, be trained, and participate in the walk and come back to wherever you live and have a walk during the 50th anniversary next year. So if there's anybody interested in that program, come see me and I'll make it happen for them. And like Marlene said, next year, 1963, was the discovery of Alpha-1 in Sweden. And actually this week, a colleague of mine, Bob Campbell, got to interview the person that discovered Alpha-1, and he'll be launching that video hopefully during the month of November. So it's a great platform for us to get the word out there, to spread as much awareness as we possibly can. We're going to have as many events as we possibly can, but the many events won't happen unless you participate and you make it happen, and try and create as much awareness as possible. Next year we're going to have the International Scientific Conference in Barcelona, Spain. That's going to happen in mid-April. We have, I think, about 175 scientists that are going to get together at that conference and talk about Alpha-1. And then we'll have the 4th Global Alpha-1 Patient Congress, in which patients from all over the world will come and sit. And we're hoping that this Congress session will focus mainly on providing leadership that in the United States, and not just because I'm in the United States, we have done an incredible job as being leaders in the Alpha-1 world. In Europe, it's been pathetic. It's been they really struggle. We don't know if it's a language barrier, a cultural barrier, whatever, but, the USA has come on in leaps and bounds, and we need to help our family members that are over in Europe create some leadership and help them move forward, because most of them don't have augmentation therapy, don't have probably only a minute access to what you guys have. And it's really, really, really sad to see that, when we go to Europe, that, we can walk around with oxygen that, our insurance company has provided for us, but most of that is just, in Italy alone, it's illegal to even travel with oxygen. So, they have a long, long, long way to go, but I think with our help, we will definitely help them in the next 50 years, do a better job in the next 50 years than we've done in the first 50 years. So what's the call to action today for me? It's please participate in Building Friends for a Cure. It's a great program. It's a lot of fun. You create a lot of friends and create a lot of awareness. And join the Alpha-1 research registry. I know Mike is still here, and anybody that hasn't signed up for the registry, please sign up for the registry. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be around at the booth. And, like I said earlier, the reason our organization was started was because 3 individuals sat around a table, just like no different than you guys. And I hope that when you walk out today that you'll have that same level of energy to become as engaged, become as empowered, because you are educated, and go use that knowledge and use it to the best of your ability. And I promised the girls that I would have them out of here for lunch real soon. So they're having a really fun time on their computer right now. So I'm again, thank you for allowing us to come here. It's an absolute privilege that we get to leave Miami and feel the cold for a while. And we're going to have our thank God Dr. Croak is okay, and he's going to be here this afternoon. And don't leave, stick around, and he'll have a fabulous presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela.